Hello and welcome to my knitting podcast. My name is Jessica McDonald and I am a knitting pattern designer and I'm coming to you from a small town in Idaho. I haven't been here in a while. My last episode was June of last year, I think, or possibly earlier than that. I'm going to try to make podcasting more of a priority this year. I would really like to do one a month, but that's hard to do. I have 4 small children from 7 to 1, so that makes it really hard to just stop and record a video during any given day. I'm trying this today with the kids in the house. My husband is at work. The baby is napping. The 3 older ones are watching My Little Pony, and I've told them to leave me alone, but we'll see what happens. It's really hard to make time for this because I have to do it during the day to get decent lighting, and I don't really want to do it on a weekend day because that takes away from family time. So I'm trying to do this on a day when my husband is working and just kids away somewhere, occupied. Hopefully they don't disturb me, but if they do, I'll just have to stop and maybe do this in 2 parts. But I'm really going to try to do this once a month. I'm going to plan to do this once a month and share with you everything that I've been knitting and designing and making so that you can see what I'm up to. I really enjoy watching video podcasts on YouTube, and it's one of my favorite ways to relax, just to knit while watching a podcast. And so I was wanting to produce the same kind of content. For me, anyway, I think it is true for a lot of people. Social media is starting to really, it's not very healthy for me anymore. And I've been mostly on Instagram and mostly sharing what I've been doing on Instagram. And I'll still be on there. I'm not going to leave by any means. But I'd like to change the way I produce content because I've been seriously changing the way I consume content. So I want to also change the way I'm showing everybody else what I'm working on. I've been really moving towards watching podcasts on YouTube and following blogs and signing up for newsletters and just kind of trying to untangle myself from Instagram a little bit because I've been spending 2 or more hours a day on Instagram, which is absolutely insane when you think about it. And most of it is, 5 minutes here, 10 minutes there. Every time you're bored, you pull out your phone for 40 seconds and it just adds up. But that's not really the way I want to live my life, really. I don't want my kids to have fond childhood memories of their mom on her phone constantly. So I've been really working on setting some good boundaries with Instagram, and so I'm going to start podcasting and sharing with people on YouTube what I am up to. And also on my blog, I have a blog too if you want to read my blog. So I'll be blogging more and filming more podcasts and spending a lot less time on Instagram moving forward. And I think that it will make me much happier. Plus, I'll have a lot more time to knit, which is really the goal anyway, right? So I'm setting my intention. I'm going to podcast at least once a month. So there's my intention. Hopefully you enjoy seeing what I'm making and hearing what I'm up to, because I really enjoy watching everybody else's podcasts and seeing what everybody else is making. So with that being said, let me get into what I have been working on. I've done a lot of stuff since my last podcast, and I really don't think it's practical to show that all to you today in one podcast. That would be kind of insane. So I think I'll show you what I'm releasing later this month and my most recent FO, as well as what I'm working on right now. First of all, I'll tell you what I'm wearing. This is Cinder. I think that I had just cast it on the last time I filmed a podcast, but now you can see that it is done. It's got a beautiful colorwork yoke. This uses 3 colors, so you're knitting with 3 colors at once. It's my most complicated colorwork design yet, but I really, just the dramaticness of the 3 colors together is just striking, and I've always loved it, and so I really wanted to design a yoke with 3 colors together because it looks just absolutely fantastic, and I'm really pleased with how this turned out. So it's got this really bold graphic yoke, and then the sleeves are slim fitting and plain, and then it's just got a straight body and nothing at the hem. This was done in collaboration with Primrose Yarn Co. I used her Cottage Decay, and it is merino, silk, and yak. It's a blend of those 3, which makes it incredibly soft and really drapey. And she dyes some really amazing colors. I think the main color is just undyed. It's Silver and Cold is the name. And then the orange is Days of the Phoenix. And I cannot remember what the black is. I can't remember. I'll put a link up to the Ravelry page for this design, and then you can go see, because I've got the color names listed there. She named all of her color names after song titles from an artist she really loves, so I thought that was really neat that she named them all after something she loves. So this design came out in October, so you can go and purchase the pattern if you would like to. I also made a kids version of this, Little Cinder. I shrank this yoke design, which was pretty hard to do because it's got a lot of boldness going on. But I shrank it down and made a kids version of it, which is also available. That came out in December. So I'm not going to show you the kids version of that, so you'll just have to head over to Ravelry or my website if you want to see it. It turned out really cute, really cute. I made it for Jimmy because orange is his favorite color. And he was a bit disappointed that there was only a little bit of orange and it was mostly gray, but you know, he was okay with it. He wore it. He smiled for the pictures. So I will show you my first FO, I guess, which is Little Ruska. So Ruska is another design that was knit and released in the interim between my last podcast and this one, which I think I'll wear that sweater for my next podcast, but I'll just show you the kids version. So after making my Ruska, I decided to make a kid version of it. So here's the first one. This is made out of Barrett Wool Co. Wisconsin wool and spun in the worsted weight. The colors are Quaker Gray, Pebble is the black, and Penny is the kind of a harvest gold color. So it's got Shetland motifs, Faroe Isle motifs, I guess. Let me see if I can get it to focus on the sweater instead of me. So you can see that it's really pretty and fun. It's got a lot of color going on, but since it is all Shetland motifs, you only ever knit with 2 colors at once. There is no knitting with 3 colors at all. You just swap out what the contrast color and background color is. So, you know, here in this, you go from gray to yellow as your background, with keeping the contrast color of black as you move through the pattern. So you just swap out the contrast and the main color to get 3 colors together, but you only ever knit with 2 colors at once. So this is size 8. I made this for my oldest, and it's super cute, fits really well. And as I was knitting this, the whole way through, my 5-year-old kept begging for one. She kept saying, "Is that mine? I want one too, I want one too, I want one too." So obviously I made her one too. I didn't quite have enough yarn. I had just a tiny little bit of Penny left over and just a tiny little bit of Quaker Gray left over. I was originally planning to knit a hat with this yarn, but she wanted to have her own little Ruska so badly that they've been wearing it, so it's got their hair on it. She wanted her own little Ruska so bad that I just couldn't say no. So instead of a hat, I made her a sweater, which this would have been plenty for a hat, obviously, but I just managed to do a sweater, but you can see I had to swap out some contrast colors. Let's see here. Yes, let me make sure. Okay, so these lines here, this was supposed to be black, this was supposed to be black, and this one was supposed to be black. But I was getting so low on the pebble that I decided I was gonna swap it out and use penny for those rows instead, because I was really worried about running out of pebble, and I didn't want to get halfway through this motif and run out, because there's really no other way you could make that. I would have just had to stop knitting that section and move on. And I barely made it. I barely had enough pebble. I had maybe 3 inches left over when I finished, so I'm really glad I switched these out to using the penny instead of the pebble, because that made all the difference in making sure I had enough pebble to make the size 6 for Brenna, which she was so happy about. Like, just, it absolutely made her day. And the two of them wearing their sweaters together is very cute, and you can tell the younger obviously is just delighted by the fact that she's matching her big sister, which I remember when I was a kid, I loved matching my big sister, and she hated it. I loved it. I did different charts for the different sizes. So it's for sizes 2, 4, 6, 8, 10, 12, and there are different charts for the sizes. My goal with this design was to have the color work end about like right above the shoulder and then have it on the body at the same point. So in order to make that happen across all of the sizes for the kids' sweaters, I needed to add or eliminate some color work. So this is 6 and 8, and they have the same chart. 6 and 8 have the same chart, and then sizes 10 and 12 have another chart. They share a chart, but there's another section of color work in the chart for 10 and 12, so I've added a section down here. And then sizes 2 and 4 share a chart, but I removed a section. I can't remember if I removed this one or this one. I took one of them out just to make it shorter, because sizes 2 and 4 are so much shorter than 6 and 8. And it would have ended up with, they would have had color work clear down to the bottom, which would be cute, but really isn't my intent with this design. So there's 3 different charts, and just follow the one for your size. So this is so much fun to knit, and it's really easy because it's only ever 2 colors at once, and they just flew off the needles. I knit both of these sweaters in about 10 days because, I mean, it's addictive. It's just absolutely addictive. You can't put it down. And it was the same when I knit my Ruska. I did it in less than a month, which is a pretty good pace for me knitting an adult size sweater. So it's a lot of fun to do. The color work is so much fun. It's so addictive. You literally cannot put it down. You just want to do one more row, one more row, one more row. And then after you're done with the color work, you've only got a little bit of the body left to do. And the sleeves also, you know, sleeve island, it's not as much of a problem because a big chunk of it is color work, which is super fun. And then you've just got a few inches left of plain knitting. So this is a super fun sweater to knit, and it's really cute. And there's so many color combinations you could do. You could just do totally your own take on it, whatever color you choose. I've seen people do purple and yellow and pink, and yeah, so many different color combinations you could do to make it your own. So this is Little Ruska, and the pattern will be out on the 29th. Today is January 17th, and this pattern will come out on January 29th of 2021. So if you want to make sure you are notified when this pattern comes out, you can sign up for my newsletter. I'm going to put a sign up link in the description box below, so you can sign up for my newsletter if you'd like to, because I always send out a newsletter when I release a new pattern, and it contains all of my best discounts for the pattern. So if you like my patterns, you'll want to sign up for my newsletter. So, Little Ruska, my first FO. I'm trying to hold them both up at once. It's not really working. There we go. And you can have a good look at it. It's really cute. And they're really cute when they wear it together. there's my first sweater. Now I'm going to show you, I'm not planning to put this podcast on the internet until next weekend, so I'm going to show you something that has not yet been seen. This is my mystery knit along. This is the Eirene Cowl. So I released this as a mystery knit along right after Christmas, I think the 27th of December. And it's been 4 clues released once a week. And the final pattern is coming out on the 23rd. Yes, the 23rd is Saturday. And I'm not planning to put this podcast up until then, so I'm going to show it off to you so you can see it. So if you're watching this podcast, this is now available as a final whole pattern, so you can make this cowl. So my goal with this was to use up some leftover yarn, because in 2019 I knit with a lot of Quince & Co. Lark in the color Iceland. So I had a decent pile sitting there with nothing to do, and I had a partial skein of sage left over from when I made my pines hat. And I really wanted to use up my leftover yarn, but it wasn't enough to make a whole nother sweater. It was a little too much to make a hat. So after a while I decided that a good idea would be to make a nice big squishy colorwork cowl. And then I was like, well, what if I just did it, you know, as clues, and we could turn it into a mystery? And so I did it. Turned it into a mystery knit along, which has been super fun. I've really enjoyed it. It has taken off a little bit more than I expected. I have a few more participants than I expected to have, and there's a thread in my Ravelry group for people to chat and hang out if they would like to. So it's been really fun to chat with people about the projects they're making and see what colors they chose. So this has been really fun, and they've been really enjoying it. And now you can too, as a whole final pattern. I wanted this to be something that was really accessible to somebody who hasn't knit colorwork before. It's like a first colorwork project if you want to get some practice on it. So the motifs are all very simple to knit. We start off with just, you know, every other stitch, and then move on to something a little more complicated. But they're still very, very simple motifs, and they're very, very easy to knit. And then there's some simple textures in between each bit of color work. Is this focused on me or on the cowl? I can't tell. I don't get my face out of there entirely. So there's some simple texture, a little bit of garter stitch, a little bit of seed stitch, and then the ribbing at the, well, it's not ribbing, the garter stitch at the bottom comes into these peaks, which I think are really cool. I think it looks really nice. So I'm pretty pleased with how this turned out and how everybody has loved it. So this is a really fantastic project. If you've never done color work and you want somewhere to start, this is a really fantastic one to start with. And you can see that I've put some shaping in. It's really tall, and I put some shaping in. It's wider at the bottom than it is at the top. If I turn it this way, you can see the whole thing. It's a little bit tall. Maybe if I move it back. I put some shaping in because I wanted it to feel, you know how snuggly it is to wear a shawl, and it's just so cozy, and your shoulders are warm, and you're just so cozy. But they're fairly impractical to wear. They fall off, your kids pull on them, they shift around, you kind of gotta fuss with them and put them back into place every once in a while. I wanted to design something that was really snuggly and warm and would go around your shoulders, kind of like a shawl does, but be really easy to wear so that you didn't have to fuss with it at all, but it would be super cozy to wear. So I put increases in, and I made it really tall so that it kind of sits around your shoulders. Super, super cozy. I wear it all the time because it is super cozy. So you can see it's really nice and tall, so it kind of slouches a bit as you wear it, which I think looks really nice. And then it comes around on your shoulders and covers your chest. It's very cozy. You can see the edge really nice. The peaks are really pretty. I think they're really cool. It's one of my favorite parts of it, even though I love color work. If you follow me for any amount of time, you'll know I love color work, but I think that adds a really nice detail, a really nice touch to it. So Okay, I'm back. My camera only records video for 20 minutes, so I got caught off there. I didn't realize where I'd gotten cut off, so it took me a minute to figure out what I had been talking about. So I'm back. I was saying that this pattern has now been published. If you're watching this video, even when it first comes out, it will be available on Ravelry and on my website. So if you'd like to purchase the pattern, you can find it in both of those places. It's the Eirene Cowl, perfect for your first colorwork project. I'm gonna take it off because it's actually very warm in this room, and this is very warm to wear. All right, so moving on from there, my most recent finished object is this cardigan. I haven't even sewn the buttons on, so I don't know if I can call it an FO, but I'm going to. So this is the Alpenglow Cardigan. I named it Alpenglow because it's a nice wintry term. It's faintly pink, and we live in the mountains, so we see Alpenglow basically every day if it's not cloudy. Alpenglow is right when the sun sets. If there's mountains, they'll still have sun on the top of them, and they're all pink because of the snow and the sun. So this is Alpenglow. It is made out of chunky weight yarn for children, sizes 2 through 10. I didn't do 12 years on this one because I have been rather dissatisfied with children's size charts for quite some time. Well, not quite some time. I guess the last 6 months or so. I think that I follow the Crafty Yarn Council size chart. That's kind of, you know, the standard. I think that's the only one that really exists. I think it's really good with the babies, like really perfect with babies. But then once you get into children, especially the older children over, 5 or 6, I think it runs small, like a full size small. So this sweater I made following the size guide for a size 8. So it should have been a size 8. It should have fit my 7-year-old who wears size 7, 8, but it fits my 6-year-old perfectly. So somebody's about to come in.
Mama?
Yes?
Can I have a push boy?
Not right now. I'll get you one when I come downstairs. Go back down.
Okay.
Can you close the door, please?
Mm-hmm.
Thank you. And you're gonna see that because I don't have good editing skills. It's simply not worth it to me to spend a lot of time editing these videos. If I spend 4 hours editing a podcast, I could write a whole nother pattern in that time. So these will be real. We'll say that. These will be real. So this was made using the size 8 size chart, but it fits my 6-year-old perfectly, or 5-year-old perfectly, and she wears size 6 clothing. So I shifted all my sizes, so this is the size 6 instead of the size 8 as it would be considered by the Craft Yarn Council. And I think before I write any more children's patterns, I'm going to come up with my own sizing standard because, I think it runs small, and I think that's been held up in my test knits. You can see that it runs a bit small. It is quite hard to find people who want to make size 8, 10, and 12 usually for children's patterns. They're not as popular as baby or small child sizes. So most of the people who've been test knitting have been grandmas, and then they don't know how it fits. They can't show me a picture of how it fits on their grandkid, or people knitting for charity. A lot of people who knit for Wool Aid are my test knitters, and so obviously they don't have a model for that. So, but now I think that I really need to come up with my own sizing standard and write my own sizing standard, because the larger sizes, 6 and up mostly, they're just too small. I think they're just too small. So I'm planning to put together my own sizing standard here this week or next week so that I can hopefully have something that fits the older children a lot more accurately, and also just my own standard that I follow every time. So anyway, a bit of a long-winded talk about sizing, which you may not have wanted to hear, but anyway, so this is Alpenglow. It is a chunky weight cardigan. This is cropped. It is both cropped, and I wrote instructions for full length as well in case you wanted to do that. But I did it cropped because my reason for making this cardigan is my sister was originally going to get married in February, and I bought my girls a really pretty dress to wear, and I was like, that's going to be cold. So I wanted to make them a really cute cardigan to go over top of their dress, but I wanted to crop it so that it would fit really nice because the waist of the dress is a little bit high. It's kind of a little bit old-fashioned, classic style. So I decided to crop it so that it would fit really cute over top of the dress, and it does. It looks really cute. My sister's now not going to get married till summer, so there won't be a cute sweater wedding outfit, but still, who can complain about an adorable sweater? So it's fairly plain, top-down raglan sleeve sweater, but I put in the front the dropped chain stitch, which is a technique you really don't see very often. And I first saw it, Larka from Fiber Tales put it on one of her sweaters. That was the first time I saw it. I hunted everywhere to find a tutorial or some instructions on how to do this. So it's got, this uses 2 stitches and this uses 3, so they're different sizes, and I thought it looked really cute with the different sizes, and the larger one goes a little bit lower than the skinnier one. And they just, that just starts right underneath the arm divide. So you work the dropped chain stitch after you've knit the fabric up. So you just work plain until you get down below the sleeve divide, and then you work the 2-stitch one, and then you work another inch and do the 3-stitch one, which almost flipped you all off there. Which it's really easy to work. It's really cool. It's really fun. You need a crochet hook to do it, but it's not hard at all. I filmed a tutorial for how to do it. It's the drop chain stitch. You can find it. It's already up on my channel. So if you go to my profile, you can find the tutorial for how to make this stitch. It's really simple. It's really easy, and it looks really cute. It just adds a really nice detail to the front of the sweater, which I think is really cute. And it looks really nice. So that's the only detail that's on it, really. So I think it looks really nice. A really simple sweater. So this is knit top down, raglan style. Then you pick up the neckline and work the neckline. And you pick up the button bands and work the button bands and work the sleeves. I did a little bit deeper cuff on the larger sizes. Usually I do 1 inch, but I decided to do a 2-inch cuff because I thought that would look really, really nice. And it does. It looks really nice. I like the 2-inch cuff on the larger sizes. So needs the buttons, up off the buttons, which I have had so much trouble finding nice looking but simple buttons. Like, the only place I can think of to go get buttons is Joann's Fabric. But I recently found out that Pearl Soho sells buttons, so that I'll show you one. They're very simple. I'm trying to make it focus on the button instead of me. It doesn't want to. It doesn't want to. It doesn't want to at all. Okay, anyway, sorry, you can't see the button. It's very simple, 2 holes. It comes in a whole bunch of colors. This is cream. I thought the cream would look nicest, and it does. It looks really nice on there. So this is cream, but it comes in a whole wide variety of colors. So you can have a plain, simple button, whatever color you need, various sizes, from Pearl Soho. So I thought that was really cool. That's probably going to be my go-to for buttons from here on out, because buttons are such a pain. it's hard to find nice buttons. Nice buttons can be like $4 for a button, and then you're spending as much in buttons as you are on yarn for your project, and then you have to sew them on. I'm not a huge button fan. So I need to sew these buttons on, and then it will be a real, actual finished object. So I just started the test knit for this one just now. So this one is going to come out in March. I haven't decided the day. Maybe I did decide the day. Yes, March 19th. I'm going to publish this on March 19th. So like I said before, you can sign up for my newsletter down below if you'd like to get an email when it comes out. You can see I've got my bulletin board with index cards all over it to keep myself organized this year. This is the first time I've been doing this, trying to keep myself really nice and organized. So I've got everything written out. Each individual project has its own index card with important dates, like the publication date written on it, and everything that needs to be done. So yes, I'm pretty pleased with myself for being organized. Usually I'm kind of scrambling around and trying to remember what's going on, and everything's written in a million places. So hopefully I can keep a lot better organized this year, and it will be a lot easier for me. So now on to my work in progress. This was actually a finished object right before Christmas. And then the day before Christmas, I ripped it out and knit it again. So this is Snowberry. Try to get it up here where you can see it nicely. Snowberry. It is a cardigan I am doing in collaboration with Bare Naked Wools. This is Stone Soup DK that it is made out of. So it's an open front cardigan, and it's got these really fun cabled panels going down the front. I'm trying to make sure you can see it well. So it's got a cabled edge, which I'm really pleased with. I've been wanting to do this for a long time. I know it's not very common, but I just think it looks so cool. Maybe if I get the rest of the sweater out of the way. So cool to have a cabled edge. I think it looks so neat. And then it's got some bobbles and other cables in there as well. So I'll move my face out of the way so you can see the cabling, which this has been a lot of fun. Cabling is just the perfect thing for this time of year. You know, winter, it's dreary. You just want to be cozy, and cables are just the coziest thing ever. So cables are perfect. So you can see I'm maybe a third of the way through the sleeve again. So this uses the top-down contiguous set in sleeve method. And the reason why I ripped it out after I'd finished it the first time was between writing the pattern that I knit the sample off of, the original sample off of, and the pattern after my tech editor went over it, the rate of increases on the sleeves and the number of stitches cast on in the underarm changed, which may seem kind of ridiculous to rip out a whole sweater just for some minor sleeve increase changes, but I really wanted to make sure that I was knitting the same exact thing everyone else would be knitting. Just, you know, quality control, make sure that I'm doing it right. I didn't want to have people knitting a different pattern, even if it was only a little bit different. So the top-down contiguous set and sleeve method is actually really easy. I know it's a mouthful and it might seem intimidating, but it's actually really easy to knit. So to make this sweater, you start with this cabled panel here. This is the back neck. So you use a provisional cast on and knit this cable panel there for the back neck, and then you have live stitches on either end, and you pick up across the edge for the back and the shoulders, and then you have, you know, this whole bit here, and then you start increasing along the shoulder lines. So I'm trying to show it to you well. So here's the shoulder. So you increase on both sides of this line on every single row, right side and wrong side, until you get out here to the end of the shoulder. And then you stop increasing for the shoulder. So when you increase for the shoulder, that gives you all your stitches for your front and your back. And it gives you a nice shoulder slope as well, you can see there. And then you switch to increasing for the sleeve. So you just start, you put, 2 stitch markers here, increase on either side of them down to here, and then you start increasing inside of those stitch markers. So you're increasing for the sleeve cap, and you're done increasing for the front and back. The larger sizes, you will still do some body increases on the front and the back as you're doing the sleeve increases, just so you can get the sizing appropriate on those larger sizes. But this one is the second to the smallest size, so it doesn't need that. And then you knit your sleeve increases, and then once you're done with that, you just knit straight for a little bit, separate off the sleeves, and then you're basically a top-down sweater like any other top-down sweater. It does look a little bit like the sleeves are puffed, but it doesn't actually do that when you're wearing it, because the shoulder line ends about here. You know what that bump, the little bone is right there, and then the roundness of your shoulder fills that all in. So I'll put it on to show you. I don't want to lose my needles. It'll be nice and warm now. So you can see your shoulder fills in that, and it's not puffed sleeve at all. So, and it's got the cables. I'm trying to make sure you can see the cables well, because that really is the whole point of the sweater. This actually fits nicely. I made sure to have a little bit of ease in the sleeve. I'm cutting off the top of my head. Usually I do a really slim fitting sleeve when I knit patterns. I just like a slimmer fitting sleeve, but this one this sleeve has a little bit more ease than I usually do, because I wanted to make sure it would fit nicely over top of things you layered underneath, which you can see it fits really nice, even though I've got a whole other sweater underneath it. So yes, it's not behaving itself nicely because it needs blocked, but you can see the front cable now and all the bobbles and cables, and it's really pretty. I'm really happy with how it's been turning out. I really needed more cardigans, and I really wanted something to wear over top of some more simple outfits, some dresses and simple blouses that I have. And I didn't want it to close in the front. I just wanted it to fall straight down. Just straight down the front. My mom was like, is it gonna be a real sweater, or is it gonna be open in front? It's a real sweater, even if it doesn't close in front. So there are no increases along the front neckline to make it a V or to make it come together. It is supposed to be open in front, and then you can show off these nice pretty cables and that cabled edge, which honestly I'm really happy with. I really like this cabled front edge, and I have been talking forever and my camera is about to cut me off again, so I'm going to pause real quick and restart it. There. So that means I've got 40 minutes of podcasting in now. When I came up here, I was like, I was only going to be here 20 or 30 minutes. Apparently I can get a little long-winded. So this is Snowberry, and it is currently in test knitting, and I'm finishing up the sample for the second time, and it will be released on the 24th of February. So make sure you sign up for my newsletter. Basically, you get the best discounts and you'll get an email when everything's released. So this one will be out in a little over a month. And I think that's it really for all my things I'm working on, currently working on. I've got a whole bunch of yarn everywhere. I've got so many projects for this year, so many things planned for this year. I've got some really big plans for this year. I have decided that I am going to self-publish a book of patterns, which It's kind of insane, which I planned it all out, which is why I had to get super organized. But I've had this collection in my mind for a year or maybe more than a year, and I've kind of toyed with the idea of having it printed into a book, which the idea of having a collection of my patterns, you know, printed in a book that you can hold in your hands is just really appealing. And so around the end of the year, I was like, why not? Why not do it? Because I can do a print-on-demand style model and just print off a few, and then I don't have to spend, you know, thousands of dollars getting an inventory of books from a minimum printing order requirement, and I can have a book, and whoever wants to buy the book can buy the. I keep looking out the window, which is why my gaze keeps traveling. I'm trying to look in the camera, but yeah, I'm gonna write a book. You'll also be able to get all the patterns just online. I'm gonna make it an ebook and a printed book, and then individual patterns also, so you can buy it in any combination of ways. I just thought it would be really cool to put together a book, and I decided I'm going to show you all the whole process and talk about it the whole way, because most people, when they write a book, you know, they disappear for 6 or 9 months and they come back, surprise, I've got a book. But I don't think that's something I want to do, so I'm going to share it with you all. I've got the first yarn. It came yesterday. My first box of yarn came yesterday, so I'll show you kind of the colors I'm going to do. I decided to use Durarem Natura. This is a children's collection. I suppose I should add, this is for children, so I wanted to use something that wouldn't be in any way itchy, because kids don't like itchy. So I went with Durarem Natura. So I'm making it out of both Gilliatt, and then I'm also making some of the patterns out of Ulysse. I'm not entirely sure how to pronounce those names. So Gilliatt is worsted weight and Ulysse is sport weight. So kind of the color scheme of the whole project is, this is caramel, Fourite, here is Goland, this is Boileau, it's French, I don't know how to speak French. So this is kind of the color scheme of the whole project, green and gray, and a little bit of this coppery brown color. So that's kind of the color scheme of the whole project. I wasn't able to get all of the yarn for it because not all of it was in stock. I bought this all from Shop La Mercerie, which I like to buy from her because, first of all, she helped me pick the colors. She took pictures of them all and sent them to me, you know, the combinations that I wanted to use, and helped me pick the colors and settle on a final color scheme. And she ships without using any plastic packaging. So they came in a cardboard box, they were in paper bags, there was not a single piece of plastic anywhere, which I think is fantastic. I'm trying to use less plastic. So the yarn that I do have to make sweaters out of is, I have my sweater's quantity of caramel. I'm going to make a shawl color, textured shawl collar cardigan out of caramel in Gilliatt, so worsted weight. This will be for Jimmy. Originally I was planning to make 4 sweaters in Jimmy's size and take pictures all on Jimmy, and then I realized that 4-year-old boys probably don't have that much patience. You know, usually I get like 5 pictures and like, okay, I smiled, I'm done. So I decided, well, I'll just make, I'm planning 4 sweaters, I have 4 kids, I'll make 1 sweater per kid. And then I can also do some group shots, and they all have a sweater for this fall. So this is for Jimmy. It's gonna be a textured shawl collar cardigan. I've got the yarn for that all ready to go. And then the other sweater quantity I got is in Ulysse. This is Goland. I'm going to make a kind of boxy, is the focus weird? I don't know. A boxy, cabled, textured sweater. It's going to be a pullover. It's going to be a modified drop shoulder, so I don't want it to be too big. You have to be really careful, I think, when making sweaters for kids that they're not hugely wide. And you also want to be able to put a jacket over top of it too. But I thought I would do a little bit of a boxy construction with short rows and whatnot, so it's nicely shaped out of this one. But I thought it would be really fun to make some cables and texture out of this. So it's going to be gray. Goland is the color name for that one. I've got a sweater quantity of that, and that is going to be for Brenna. She's the 5-year-old. So that will be for her. So I can make Jimmy's sweater and Brenna's sweater. And then for Talia, I'm going to do, what I'm planning is the cover pattern is going to be a colorwork sweater with these 2 shades of gray in the yoke, and then also Forite is green as the main color, which these are the 2 contrast colors for the yoke, but she didn't have any Juliette in the color Forite. So this is Ulisse, but I'm just holding it here so you can see the colors, because this is my happy place. This is my favorite color combo, is green and gray. So this is gonna be really cute. I've got the swatch sitting over there, but I'm not gonna show it to you yet. So this, I think, will be my cover photo sweater, because it's gonna be really cool. But I need the main color, so I'll have to wait till she restocks before I can do that. And then for Aiden, I'm also gonna do Goland. Well, his will be in Ulisse, which is a sport weight. I'll be making him size 2, so this will be a quick one. Goland for the main color, and then I think I'm gonna do Forite and Caramel as the contrast colors. And this one, I haven't quite settled on it entirely. The other ones, like, I'm totally made up my mind. I know exactly what I'm doing. But for this one, I'm not 100% sure. I'm pretty sure how I'm gonna do this, but I'm not, 100% sure. So this will be the color scheme for Aiden's sweater, and I think it's gonna be all over color work. I'd really like to do another all over color work sweater, because I think that's a lot of fun to knit, and I think people really enjoy making that, and I think it'll look really good in these colors. I was originally gonna do it with Cedar as the green, so I have a skein of that, but since I have the Forite as well, I put them together, and I thought, you know what, I kind of like that a little bit better. I don't think the colors, these 2 colors will sit next to each other. There'll always be the gray in between. So I think that looks really nice. Here's the Cedar, which I think this is a really pretty color, but I think it's a little bit brighter than what I'm going for. I kind of want kind of a cozy, rustic, woodsy scheme. So I think I'm going to go with this as my color scheme for Aiden's sweater, which I've got all the main color I need for his sweater. I just need to get a skein of Caramel in Ulisse. That's the only one she didn't have. So that'll also have to wait for the restock. So that's my big plan for this year. I'm planning to have all of the sweaters done by the end of May and take the pictures in June and lay it all out in July, and then print it in August and September, and then be ready to release it in October. I also am planning to do some mittens and hat and neck warmer, but I'm doing the sweaters first, and then I'm going to see what I have left over, and then I'll use my leftover yarn to design the accessories, just seeing what I have left over. That way I don't waste a bunch of yarn. I'd really like to use up my leftovers. And, you know, mittens are small, they don't need a lot of yarn, so it doesn't make a lot of sense to buy a whole new pile of yarn for them. So I'll just see what I have left and then go from there. So that's my big exciting project that I hope you all enjoy seeing as I work on it along the way. I have no idea if this will be a good business decision or not, but I'm very excited about it. Very excited about it, and at the very least my mom will probably buy one. But anyway, I think it's going to be a beautiful collection. I have been dreaming about this for seriously a year or more, and I'm really excited for it. And I am really happy that I am making this happen. And it's all on my index cards. There's January's to-dos, February's to-dos, March's to-dos. All I have to do is just work my way through my to-do list, and yeah. But that's not the only thing I'm doing. The pattern that I'm currently writing and am going to cast on next is in linen. So this will be a collaboration with Shibui Knits. I actually picked gray. They sent me blue to play with, but I picked gray to make the sweater out of. So it's in linen. I'm not going to show you a whole lot. Maybe I'll show you the back. A linen tee that I'm planning to release in June. So I'm writing the pattern right now, and we'll cast that on next. So next podcast you should be able to see something. It's so drapey. It's going to be so nice to wear in the summer. So there. I think I have shown you everything and talked for way longer than I originally intended to. Yeah. I hope you don't mind that this podcast will not have a pretty introduction with the music and video from my daily life. It's not focused on my face, is it? I just don't have the time to do a lot of editing. Like I said, I don't have hours to spare to put together a really professional videographer type video. I don't have time for that. In the time it would take me to edit one single podcast, in that way I could seriously write a pattern. It does not make any sense at all for me to get fancy with this podcast. But as I was thinking about the podcasts that I do watch, like, I don't mind if they don't have a nice intro scene, you know, all the music and pictures and all that. I don't mind if they don't have that. I'm mostly interested in, you know, the meat of the podcast, which is whatever host it is, showing off what they're making and talking about what they're doing. So I hope you don't mind that I'm not going to get fancy with this. There's going to be, like I said, pretty minimal editing. I'm not going to edit out when my children interrupt. I might stop and then restart, but I don't even know if I have the software to chop out the middle section of a video, much less the time to figure out how to do it or even to do it. So it's going to be fairly real, one shot kind of thing. So hopefully you don't mind that I'm doing it that way. And I hope you stick around. If you enjoyed this video and you'd like to see what I'm working on in the future, please subscribe to my channel. I will be putting out podcasts, like I said, hopefully every month. Planning to do it every month. And I will be putting out some tutorials as well. You can see in my tutorial section, I've already got 2 tutorials there. I'm going to start doing tutorials for the techniques that I use in my own patterns, so that people who are making my patterns can see how I do things, and hopefully that will make your experience knitting up one of my patterns nicer. So you can enjoy my tutorials and my podcasts, and I hope that you come back to watch all my future videos. I'm very glad to have you here. So until next time, goodbye and happy knitting.